Hi, welcome to the Corner of Knit and Tea, episode 219. I'm Laura, also known as Fluffy K on Revelry, Fluffy Kira on Instagram and Twitter. I blog over at thecornerofknitandtea.com, and that's where this episode and every episode show notes will be. I have an Etsy shop called The Corner of Knit and Tea, where I sell my hand-spun yarns, and we have a Ravelry group called The Corner of Knit and Tea. Hi, how are you? I hope you're having a wonderful weekend. It is Saturday, February 23rd. I am recording a day early because tomorrow is Spinning Sunday and I have lunch with friends, and Roxy wants to FaceTime, and I found my morning and afternoon just filling up, so I thought I'd better record today, which is fine because I have lots of progress to show you. So I hope you have had a lovely week. It has been, same old here, getting through work. We had some snow on Tuesday into Wednesday, and then today it is in the 40s and rainy, so all the snow is melting, but there's muddy water everywhere. I suppose this is kind of a prequel to spring, although this coming week, I guess we're supposed to go back into the 20s and get more snow, so I don't know. Today we are staying home and hanging out before I run around tomorrow, and so I have lots of knitting and new projects for March to talk about, and so let's get right to it. Today's tea that I'm drinking is T2 Chai, and I just ordered it online. Their chai is black tea, cloves, cardamom, star anise, cinnamon, ginger, natural and artificial flavor. T2 is out of New Jersey. And I've really enjoyed their teas that I've tried. I tried a chai, and then I think I just got like a regular black tea, but they have been very good so far. And I am drinking it in my Hershey's Pennsylvania mug, which probably should be for chocolate, but I'm just drinking my chai in there. And I love a good spicy tea kind of any time of year, so chai is always something I love. When I made that strong, I usually add just a little bit of sweetener to it. Generally, I don't add milk, although I will drink it that way. That's just not usually how I prepare it. So let's talk about the knits, and I'm just picking fuzz off of the knits because my house is full of fuzz. Let's talk about the first thing that I finished. I went ahead and finished my Sizzle Pop shawl. This is pre-blocking, so while it is large, I think it's only going to grow with blocking, and I decided that at worsted weight it was probably enough. So this is my Sizzle Pop shawl. It is about wingspan, which, like I said, it's only going to grow with blocking because there's lots of stretch in brioche stitch. So this is my Sizzle Pop shawl by Leslie Ann Robinson. I chose to do it in worsted weight rather than the fingering weight it calls for. The colors that I used are Miss Babs Yowza in Deep Sea Jellyfish, which is the bright, fun colorway, and then the gray is a CJ Coho. It is a Polworth silk blend in the colorway Crowley, and it's less while the front and back are reversible, it's less defined on the reverse side. I prefer it on the colorful sort of A side. What I did is I think I did 10 repeats of the pattern when I decided to stop. Overall, the shawl has, I want to say about 750 yards of worsted weight yarn in it, so it's decently heavy as well. That was another one of the reasons I wanted to stop, was I didn't want it to be like a full pound shawl. Originally I had thought I would go until I finished the yardage, and I just decided that it was big enough. So I do need to block it. It will probably only grow from there. I anticipate wearing it sort of bandana style. Yes, it is super thick and super warm. That is what I wanted, especially since this winter has been so cold. The pattern itself was easy to follow. It's got charts and written directions, and any mistakes that I made were from user error, not following the pattern. Once you get through the first couple repeats, it's actually really easy. I had picked this up as my first brioche and had decided it was too complicated. I can recommend starting with something a little bit simpler for your first brioche. The two that I have done that are simpler are the Wrapped in Brioche shawl by Roxy Roxanne Yoon, which I just finished, and I also did Le Moyeu, which means the squishy, or the squishy shawl, and that is by Mina Phillip of the Knitting Expat. I had done both those before, so once you get a strong foundation in just kind of basic brioche, then the whole shaping, because this is done with increases and then also slanting decreases, so that's the part where it's a little, the increases are not super tricky because you're just doing yarn overs in the stitches. The decreases can be tricky because of the way you have to slip your stitches and the yarn overs and whatever, and I found that a little bit too much for my first brioche. So that is just my recommendation, but otherwise I found this one super easy, and I went through and followed the pattern exactly like I said. I did many fewer repeats because I was using worsted weight yarn. So I will block that and call that good, and I'm kind of excited because there's at least the deep sea jellyfish had been in my stash for a while. The gray was actually a purchase at last year's Flyaway, so almost a year ago, so that's nice that I got some of that out of my stash. I have leftovers of both. And what I will say is that I will probably use the deep sea jellyfish to make Roxy a winter hat because it is pink and orange and bright and amazing, and I think I have like right around 200 yards left, so that will be perfect for her. And then on the gray, I actually would like to make, I think it's called the Patiki Cowl by Aroha Knits. It is kind of a geometric design, and I know Sandy by the Lakeside made one recently and it was beautiful. And I have a skein of DK weight yarn in kind of reds. It's mostly reds. I picked it up when I went to Virginia Beach years ago, so it was like souvenir yarn, and it's been this great skein of DK weight yarn that I have really wanted to use and haven't known what project because it's only around 200, 250-ish yards. So I think I'm going to use it with the leftover gray and do the Patiki Cowl. So that will be on my needles probably later this year, not quite yet because I have tons of stuff to do right now, but that is my finished project for the week. The second project that I worked on, and you can refer to last week's podcast if you want to hear me really talking about this and my feelings about it. So this week I'm just going to talk about the knitting of it. I had hoped to be done with my Carbeth cardigan. That is by Kate Davies this week. I am knitting it in, and I thought I brought the label in, but now I don't see it. It must have, oh, here it is. I am knitting it in, with Carbeth, you can either knit it in DK held double or you can knit it in bulky. I am knitting it in Cloudborne Fibers, Cloudboard limited edition wool bulky in magenta heather. Cloudborne is, or was Craftsy's signature yarn, which is now Blueprint. I ordered more than I should need for my size in the pattern, and I'm running out. So I have ordered one more ball. The nice thing about Cloudborne is I was able to order another one. Even though this is a limited edition run, they still have some left. And B, they don't really do dye lots because they're basically commercially dyeing. So, and I don't know whether they dye it all up at once, and that's why, or what exactly happens, but I shouldn't have to worry about dye lots. And so I am hoping that that's true. I've been told that. So I am hoping that's true because I only have about half a ball left, and I'm starting at the ribbing on the neck, and I think I'm going to need a little bit more than that. So this is my Carbeth. And what I will probably do while I'm waiting is I will finish this off tonight and as much as I can, and then I will probably do some of the finishing work with the weaving in of ends and the Kitchenerring under the arms. But I tried it on last night and it fits really, really nicely, and I am super, super pleased with this. So this is my Carbeth, and I've got ends everywhere, so it's not wanting to. This is my Carbeth. So Carbeth is a cropped pullover. Like I said, it's knit in bulky or DK held doubled. I wanted it to wear with dresses. There is interesting raglan shaping that ends up sort of at a point under here, and then you do some ribbing to fill in the neck. And like I said, I'm not sure I'm going to have quite enough to get the neck that I wanted out of it. Although I guess we'll see. I ordered one more ball so that I can try that. So I am almost done with my Carbeth. Almost all the knitting is done. done. And like I said, I have some finishing work, definitely weaving in ends and Kitchenering under the armpits and some of those kinds of things. And so I plan to finish pretty much everything I can do on this tonight and then just put it aside until the next ball comes. It'll probably come sometime this week. And then I can go ahead and finish it off. So I will show you it finished next week, but it's pretty darn close. And, you know, I don't know why about the yarn. I've measured, I am getting gauge, the gauge stated in the pattern. I knit the appropriate size for myself, and I don't know why it's taking more yarn than it said it did. It may just be one of those mysteries. I'll have to go back and look at the notes from other people. Basically, my size called for between 500 and 600 yards, and I ordered the equivalent of 650, and I'm going to be a little short. My guess is I'm going to be like right around 700 when I get done, which for a bulky weight sweater for me doesn't sound like, so I am a 38 bust, and in this one I am going with the recommended ease, which is 4+ inches, so I'm knitting the 43.5. And so I don't really understand why I don't have the right amount of yarn, because I went back and double checked it again last night. And I might have close to enough, but I just, to be safe, I ordered that extra skein. So that is Carbeth, almost done. As you know, these were the two projects that I had hoped to finish in February. I had my boxy pullover, which I have not touched at all this month, and will probably not touch in March. So I guess that will have to be another finishuary project for another month. But I am super pleased that I got these two projects, because these two projects alone get about between 12 and 1300 yards out of stash. And of course this was real stash yarn. This I only just got recently. But still, it's good amount of knitting for the month. I also finished the mittens earlier in the month, and I'm trying to think, oh, and I finished the sweater. So all told, I probably knit about between 2,000 and 2,500 yards of yarn this month, which is fabulous. I am super pleased. And I'm calling my finishuary a success, even if I don't quite finish the Carbeth until March. So let's talk about the other projects that I have cast on, because now I am looking towards March and trying to get a head start, because I have several commitments in March. The first thing I cast on, though, is just for fun, and I've been trying to cast these on for a while because I wanted to knit some socks. And as you recall, my very favorite hand spun for socks is Corriedale. And last year I spun, this ball is kind of messy. Last year I spun, this was Southern Cross Fiber Corriedale in the Distant Thunderway color, and this was probably from 2012 or 2013 in terms of clubs. So I spun it up, got it out of the stash, and I wanted to start some socks. And the socks I wanted to start, oh, my sock blockers are up there, I'll just use this. The socks that I wanted to start, I decided I wanted to knit a patterned sock, which I don't always do with hand spun because sometimes it obscures the pattern a little bit, but I thought that this one would look nice. And the pattern that I chose is the Pebbles and Pathways pattern by Marceline Smith, who is Hey Brownberry. And I had been looking at this sock for a while, and I just decided this would be a good one. But she is also a maker of color, so I was happy to support her. And this is what it looks like so far. It's a little bit hard to see, but it's mostly some garter stitch with some cables every so often. And so it looks very small. I assure you, A, it's not small because there's a lot of stretching in here, and B, I have small feet. So I did have to adjust the pattern. The pattern is written for a 64 stitch sock, but she gives you some guidelines on how to fix it, and you know, if you're knitting a different number, where to add or subtract stitches. And so I just used her notes, and I followed her instructions, and I'm about, oh, it looks like about 3.5 repeats into the pattern, and it is written as a toe up gusset heel, and so I am excited to do that. I like that it's striping a little bit. I know that the pattern is a little bit hard to see, but there you can probably see it. It's not too hard to see. So what I did is, I don't know exactly how much of the yarn I will use. Usually with my hand spun socks, I try to use as much as possible, but we'll just see if it gets ridiculous, because I have a lot of hand spun here, and I've already knit like maybe half the foot. Yeah, probably half the foot. So we'll see. But then I have the other half wound off for the other sock, or I'll just see what happens. But so far I am really liking these. It is a pretty easy to memorize pattern. I do have to count. But other than that, it is a pretty easy pattern. I'm looking forward to this. Hopefully I will have the first sock done next week to show you and get into the second sock. But again, that is Pebbles and Pathways by Marceline Smith, who is Hey Brownberry. I also watched her podcast this week and it was quite good. So I can recommend that to you. So that is the first March project that I'm doing. And this one actually is under no obligations. It's just for me. Everything else that I do this month is either for review or some kind of time sensitive. I hesitate to show this one because it's kind of a second verse, same as the first. So I just finished the wrapped in brioche shawl, which was knit in those two lovely sock blanks from Zen Yarn Garden. The pattern as written only uses about half the yarn included in the sock blanks because the sock blanks are oversized. And again, this one's luminous and this one is woodlands. And they're just absolutely gorgeous. And I posted pictures of the finished shawl last week and my sister looked at it and was like, that looks amazing. And I was like, oh, huh. You have a birthday coming up at the end of March. Do you want one? And she was like, what? And I said, do you want one? Because I still have the leftovers. And she was like, yes. So I started another wrapped in brioche shawl. I guess that's the back actually, so let me show you the front. I've only gotten very small into this. I have to say that the cast on went like a breeze this time. The first time I did this I had to rip it a couple times because I wasn't exactly sure what was going on and I had to just try it a couple times, and then this time I was like, oh, I know how this works. So that was absolutely fabulous. But here we go. Looks kind of the same as before, the wrapped in brioche shawl. This is a free pattern by Roxanne Yoon, who is of Zen Yarn Garden. And then, like I said, I am using her Luxe blanks to knit this. This will look almost exactly the same as the first one. The only difference will be that I started in a slightly different spot. I think when I started the last one started maybe about here in the color repeat. So I'm doing this, but I just picked up from where I left off. I didn't want to make it look exactly like the last one. So it's the same yarns, but it will be slightly different based on the way the color blanks are dyed. Like on this one I'm starting in the purple, and last time I think I started in the green. So I'm gonna work on that this month. Hopefully I will be done. It basically needs to be done by the end of the month because that's when my sister's birthday is. Hopefully I will have it done and not have to put it off. But this is actually enough of a rhythmic pattern that I can probably even take it with me to knit night and stuff. So my plan is to work on that a lot this month and get that done for her. The next knit that I'm about to cast on, and I didn't cast on before today because I thought I would bring you the skeins and show you. I was offered the chance to review some Bijou Basin yarns, and Bijou Basin Ranch is out of, oh, I can't even remember where it's out of. It's out of Colorado, and they actually have a ranch with yak, and they work with a variety of kind of luxurious fibers, and the base that they offered to have me review is Bijou Spun Gobi. It is 65% silk, 35% baby camel, and it is 435 yards to 3.5 ounces. So it is a fingering weight yarn, and it is absolutely luscious. And the colors I chose were, I believe this one is Eire, E-I-R-E, which I know sounds kind of strange because as far as I'm aware, that's the Celtic word for Ireland. So I'm not sure why purple, but yes. And then this one is called Asgard. And so it is kind of greens and moody purples and a little bit of like pinky peach. And I thought those would go nicely together in a two-colored shawl. And I don't know who this will be for. It might be for my mom for Mother's Day. And I should say that the purple is a little bit darker, but roughly goes together with the purple in the skein. So I thought they would be a nice complement to each other. And I had a variety of shawls in mind, but actually what I decided to do in light of recent conversations is to go through some makers of color and see if I could find something that looked great. And I got excited about a designer by the name of Tammy Gore. And she designs a lot of 2, 3, 4 color shawls in various shapes. And the one that I got excited about was this one, which is called the Drifter. And it looks like basically one of those growing asymmetric triangle shawls. And then it looks like, let me see if I can, okay, I don't know how well that's going to show it to you. It has what looks like, and I haven't read the pattern yet. I have bought it, but I haven't read it. It looks like alternating sections of some kind of textured stitch, some kind of garter stitch, and then interplay between the two colors. So I thought that would be really nice for this. I didn't want anything that was too busy because this would probably obscure the pattern, but having some elements of texture and you know, some like mesh or some kind of lacy stitch, I thought this would be a really nice shawl. And so that is what I'm going to get started on this week. Like I said, I didn't get started on it because I wanted to show you the yarns before I started, but I will have progress on that, and that review is due this month, so hopefully I will finish. I just love this colorway. It's got like greens and purples and a little bit of orange, and then it's got that like peachy pinky down here. It's such a lovely colorway, and it just absolutely glows on this silk and baby camel, and oh my gosh, are they luxurious. And I might have to keep it for myself, although I might give it to my mom. I don't know. So that is what I'm going to be starting on this month. You'll definitely see more of that. The final project for this month, I don't have the yarn for yet. I am going to be knitting another sample. I don't know whether I can share it with you or not, so we'll discuss that when it gets here or not. But that is what I'm going to be working on in March. Now, I have a million other things I still want to cast on for and some whips to still work on. I have my boxy. I have a bunch of hats I want to make, both for me and for the children, and I also just have a bunch of, when I was cleaning out and reorganizing recently, I found a bunch of like patterns, wool, and some more of the Kramer Perfection. I actually had a couple skeins in my stash, and so I would like to knit up a bunch of hats so that I can have them as gifts or to donate. And then I still have, that I really, really, really would like to get to, I still have my, is it Nightshades or Night Shift? I think it's Night Shift. The big shawl by Andrea Mowry with my handspun. So I have lots and lots and lots of knits I would like to do, and I am feeling like all knit all the time. So I'm hoping that that will do me good in getting some projects done this month and getting a head start on future projects. So I feel like I'm already planning out the year and the kids' sweaters and everything, and yeah, and it's only February. I really need to learn to slow down a little bit. Okay, sip of tea, we'll talk about the spins, and then I'll be done. So for the last 2 weeks, I actually showed you a really pretty braid from Southern Cross Fiber. It was organic Polworth, or superfine Polworth. That was a club colorway from a couple years ago that I had been saving, and I went ahead and spun it up this week, and it turned out really pretty. It's not quite as bright as it was in the braid, but spinning does that. Sometimes it kind of mutes the colors a little bit. It was pink, and it was like a dark magenta and purple with spots of brown and blue. And my guess is I got between 375 and 400 yards. It is this super fine Polworth, so it's probably going to puff up. It is nice for next to the skin, or would make lovely socks, although it is not superwash. And so I will be washing it tonight, and then in the next couple days I'll pop that up in the shop if that looks like anything you might like. Like I said, it's going to puff up. It'll probably be a sport weight, and like I said, probably 375 to 400 yards. So that is what I finished this week, which means it's time to pull out another braid to spin. I guess maybe I pulled this braid out to spin a while ago because apparently I unraveled it a little bit. But this is a braid, and I may even have showed this to you. This is Apothecary Fabrications. I didn't realize it was a Fabrications. It's Apothecary Fabrications fine merino wool hand dyed fiber. It is 4 ounces of fine merino wool, 21 micron milled top. So that is let's see if I can get it to show you. It's blowing out on my monitor, but I think you can see that. So it's Apothecary Fabrications merino wool, and she does not, I don't think she names her colorways. So there's no name on it, and basically it is purples and yellows and browns. And I think what happened is I pulled it out because I thought I would spin it, and I thought I would spin it my normal way, which is just to sort of divide and spin. And I pulled it out and I realized that with these bright purples and into yellows and browns and purples and blues, I decided that it was just going to get muddy. It was going to look brown and yellow and I wasn't going to like it. And I think I put it aside because I wasn't sure how to spin it. So I have been thinking in the last day or two about how I want to spin it. And I think what I'm going to do is I'm going to divide it in half vertically and try and divide it in half equally. So kind of spread this out and then try and divide it in half. And then I'm going to spin straight through, so there will be long color runs, and spin each half straight through, so it will be 2 matching skeins of stripy yarn. And then, even though I don't generally chain ply, I usually like to just 2-ply because I get more yardage out of it. Even though I don't normally chain ply, my thought is maybe I will chain ply this one so that it can be like matching skeins either for hand warmers or socks or leg warmers or whatever I get in terms of length. My experience tells me I will probably get between 250 and 300 in probably a DK to worsted weight. So it's probably more hand warmers than it is socks. I don't know why I'm pulling this apart while I'm doing this right now, but I'm just kind of puffing it up so that I can then lay it out and try and divide it equally. But I think that's the plan for this week. So I will try my chain plying skills again. I haven't done this in a while. The other thing I will do is I will probably do a trick that I learned from Adrian of Hello Yarn, which is I will probably spin it all on one bobbin and ply it all in one go. And what I will do is I will find, I think I still have some, like a little bit of red fluff left over from something. And what I will do is I will break this in half and I will spin the first half all the way through. And then between the first half and the second half, I will put just a little bit of fiber in there that doesn't look anything like the current fiber. So I'll probably use like a bright red or a bright green or something that will be like really, really, outstanding to the eye, because then when I ply through, I will know where to break it into 2 skeins easily. So then I don't have to spin it as 2 separate skeins. I can just do it all in one go, but I can keep it to 2 skeins when I go ahead. Excuse me. I felt like I was going to sneeze for a second. And then I can pull it into 2 skeins as I pull it off. So that is going to be the spin for this week. That is Apothecary Fabrications, and I don't know what I'm going to call it because it didn't come with a name, and usually I just call it whatever the name is, but we'll see. We'll see. It reminds me a little bit of, I think it's begonias that come in purple with yellow bits at the center, but it's also got the brown. So I don't know what I'll call it, but this was something that I got in a swap and I want to spin it up, and this will be for the shop. So if these colors intrigue you, I will have 2 matching skeins of something, although I can't promise what weight. So I think that is it for this week. I hope that you have had a lovely week and are enjoying your weekend. I'm gonna finish up here, take some photos, and then I think I'm going to go craft on the couch for the rest of the day. I suppose I should get in a walk on the treadmill, but we'll see. So I hope you enjoy what's left of your weekend, and I will talk to you next week. So as I always say, happy knitting, happy spinning, happy sipping, and I'll see you next time. Bye!